And we're rolling.
We're on.
We are.
Deal. Well, it's good to be alive today.
Yeah.
A long weekend.
Yeah, it was a kind of a laid back weekend. We had we did the whole Tomball German Christmas festival deal with a buddy of mine. So
yeah, but before we get going, let's talk about a passing of a friend.
Oh yeah.
We have several social groups that we're part of, and one of the members of that group suddenly passed away yesterday.
Yeah, he was pretty instrumental in a lot of the guys' lives. You know, as far as like being he was a school teacher.
Yeah, he's a magician, a teacher when they were kids, and just a good friend.
Right.
And it's always sad when that happens. I mean, if there's anybody though that understood what the next level of life is, it's that guy. He was very spiritual, very.
Oh, most definitely.
You know, and I think that it's going to be sad for those folks that were very close to him, and all of us that got laughter out of a lot of things, because he was really a funny dude.
Right.
And anyway, just rest in peace. We know you're in a better place.
Yeah, my condolences to their family.
Yeah. Well, let's move on.
Right.
Because it's always hard to be somber like that.
Sure. This past weekend, well, actually, we really can't get this started unless we address the kind of the gorilla in the room was my freaking banning.
Yes, that was fun.
On Facebook.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
We had fun at your expense. I just want you to know, when you go back and you're finally released from your jail sentence, you're going to find us making.
Oh no, I saw it. It's one of those things where I'm kind of looking in the window, and there's nothing. I can beat on the window all day long, and it doesn't matter because the shit's just going to keep rolling. But yeah, what started it all? Well, first off, before I tell the story, is fuck you, Facebook. But I had posted a meme from a group on Facebook. It was anonymous, and I don't know if it's the anonymous, but it's somebody who goes by that name. And so they posted a meme of it was a picture of a Catholic nun and a picture of a female in a traditional Muslim hijab. Mm-hmm. And so basically the title of the meme was why does one get a pass or go unchallenged, whereas the other one meets like a bunch of obstacles. And essentially it was a screenshot of a conversation that somebody had posted with a response from somebody who gave an answer as to why it doesn't go, or why it does go. It's always challenged. And the response was, hey, Catholic nuns don't have a habit of blowing up. So, when I found it, first off, as I found it on IP that's actually owned by Facebook.
Right.
So
they missed it there.
Yeah, so they missed it there. Yeah. So, and me not thinking of, hey, can I do this or not? I'm thinking this is funny as shit. I like funny shit, and I like sharing funny shit.
Right.
So I grabbed a screenshot of it, and I shared it. And I tell you, it wasn't okay. That one, it probably took them maybe a couple hours to catch it. But when they caught it, they responded and let me know that it had been taken down, and it was a violation. And the way that they had worded it, they made it sound like we took it down and no harm, no foul. That was kind of the language how I interpreted the language of the message they sent me. So I go on doing whatever I'm doing, and they ask, hey, we took it down. Do you agree or not agree? Well, I was working on like 3 or 4 things at the time. So just to get it off my screen so I could move on and continue on with my task, I just said, yeah, whatever. I'll come back to this later. Only to come to find out that when I agreed to this thing, it was basically giving them permission to lock me down for like a week. The only thing is I didn't learn about the shutdown until the next morning when I tried to do what
interact.
when I do what every Facebook subscriber does. So, I sent him a response because I was like, nothing that I wrote or nothing that I shared isn't something that showed up in intelligence reporting like when I was overseas. It's very well documented that it first began with when military age males were dressing as females to bypass coalition forces to execute whatever it is that they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
So, and then when they when things get found out that, hey, this is a tactic they're resorting to, well, naturally it goes into reporting and it goes everywhere.
Sure.
It goes to all coalition.
Be on the lookout for this.
Lookout. So when it becomes a tactic that, okay, now males can't even get away with it, well, we'll do males because culturally they won't stop females,
right?
Because they're going to respect the host country's religious practices, blah blah blah, until one of those females blows up, and then all of a sudden, it's the fucking Wild West. We're not respecting anything,
right?
So again, it's very well documented. So it wasn't anything I made up, but that's the thing that pissed me off is now you're trying to sweep under the rug something that it's a fact. So what you're telling me is you don't like the truth,
right?
Or at least a truth that happened at a time in history during our engagement overseas.
And I've seen a lot worse out there. I've got up on the screen here a friend of ours. She's a sweet lady. I mean, I've never seen her use profanity or anything anywhere.
Her at the top?
Yeah, it's the top.
Okay.
So she's like, what's up with Facebook? I put a compliment under a couple's picture, and this is what happens. And what happened was she got a notification that her comment went against community standards. And I'm like, okay, I know this person, and I know she's not obscene.
Right.
And I have no idea what she got banned for, or not banned, but censored for.
Right.
Facebook's gotten a little bit out of hand here. I think what they're doing is they're testing their limits with people.
Yeah.
And
the thing about how they're, and I don't really, I know some of the methods that they employ to kind of try to catch people is, a lot of it's going to be AI, a lot of it's going to be people that are visually looking at things. So I don't know which one of these methods was used to catch me.
Yeah, I got to think, you and I were talking about this right after it happened. I got to think that it got caught in a net somewhere and then sent to somebody to further scrutinize.
Oh, sure.
And how many times have you had content removed? Quite a few.
This has actually been my second.
So you're probably on a high probability list for that.
But like I was telling you, is like when we were at lunch, telling you that some of the things that I probably will resort to now is, and I don't like doing this, but I have to kind of over scrutinize some of my own stuff.
Sure.
As I have to try to think before the curve. So like with one of the memes that I kind of got the boot for, that I really didn't get slapped down for too hard, was the whole meme of it's supposed to be somebody's joke of, here is basically Bill Cosby and Cardi B canceling each other out. And really the most offensive thing out of that, or if you call it offensive, was catching the slight butt crack of the female that was in the photo, and it was nothing that should have ever been deemed offensive, because I've seen way worse show up on Facebook alone.
Yeah.
So, but it has caused me to think, okay, maybe going forward, I probably will do a little bit of editing on my own just to prevent myself from getting slapped down anymore. But I tell you what, if you're ever trying to thin the herd of people using your freaking service, this is one way to do it. And the thing that aggravates me the most is the fact that there's not another platform out there that's like Facebook, that's as popular as Facebook, that would have done the opposite.
Right.
Hey,
I get it.
What you post is what you post, because I'm not actively going out to try to offend some group.
Right.
It was found with humor. It was shared with a humor, with the intent of sharing the humor, but somebody found it offensive.
Well, you were talking about the methods of how they capture and sanction something. And I read a pretty good article about how people are getting mad at Facebook when actually you're just getting mad at an AI entity. So people get offended. They take it personal as if somebody like, well, say, for example, Mark Zuckerberg did it. And they get mad at, oh, screw you, Mark Zuckerberg, but whatever it is. But when actually you're getting mad at an AI, you're getting mad at an AI component. And I think it's funny is that, to your point, I mean, it's like, look, I mean, I've seen a lot worse stuff out there.
Oh, sure.
They kind of caught you kind of in a moment where when they sent you that survey, you really didn't get a chance to really respond to it at the time.
Yes.
But they took that as okay, I get it. You accept your punishment.
Right.
That's just silly. And then this friend here that I was just showing, like I said, she's a mom with kids. I can't imagine anything. And she was complimenting a friend's photo. I don't know exactly what was said or why she was sanctioned, but it's like, so it had to be either a misspell or somebody misunderstood it. That also goes to say, was it done overseas? Was it monitored at a center overseas?
Because the rules are a little bit different.
And maybe they don't understand our vernacular or something. So, like you and I talked about, I try to stay pretty clean on it. I try not to draw fire at all. Sometimes it's fun to test the limits. I've never had anything removed for community standards yet. So, but the day's still long.
I will say that kind of like right now I'm in this mode of wanting to just be antagonistic, but to the point of not going over the edge, but letting
seeing where the line is.
Yeah. Because I have invested a little bit of time during this time of reflection.
Sure.
To find out
jail time.
Yeah, whether hey, what constitutes crossing the line with them versus what doesn't.
Well, you want to talk about the other issue about the other persona that got caught too?
My alter ego.
Yeah, your alter ego. Let's go and talk about that.
So
okay.
So me thinking, okay, well, I'll just use my other persona to navigate Facebook for a while, and now part of me, I took that other persona and tried to conduct business
as you,
sort of as me, but also I tried to do stuff as Whiskey in the Water Cooler, and I quickly learned that I hadn't given myself enough permissions to do it.
Right.
So in the pursuit of running my alter ego, I learned that I could backdoor shit into my primary account. And everything was going fine until essentially I went to the well one too many times.
Okay.
I think that because everything was fine after like the first couple of things. The moment I started constantly sharing stuff from this other persona, shortly after the last thing I shared, it didn't take like 10 minutes.
It flagged you, didn't it? They flagged you and asked you questions, right?
Yeah, because yes, they flagged me with questions in the form of, hey, we see some unusual activity on your account. Can you verify who you are? And their method is using the cell phone, which dumbass me, well, not dumbass me, is it really shouldn't matter what phone number I use, but to them it does. So the moment I posted this number, which I didn't have a way of using like my home number because their method is, okay, we're going to send you a code. Well, I can't get text messages on my home phone. So, the moment that became a realization that, hey, these two entities share a fucking phone number, well, all of a sudden it fell into the same category of, okay, you get the same punishment as the other dude does.
Right. But I think we figured out a way. We're not going to talk about it right now, I guess, but we've got an end around it'll work, I believe.
Yeah, it's another method I'm going to use, but it's something that it's going to cost me a little bit of money, but really the way I look at it is it's something that's I like having that backup available.
Well, so what it affected, so the thing is, we were talking, if you have everything tethered to your primary identity or your IP, and you have
single point of failure.
Yeah, single point of failure for sure. And then you have all these other groups that they can effectively stop you from conducting any kind of business on all the other accounts because of that one IP address. So take that statement and just kind of backtrack it, and you can kind of determine what you need to do as an entity to make it work. You know, it's Facebook's kind of an interesting thing. I used to be pretty heavy on it. I would always like share and post stuff, and now I've kind of learned to, you know, tell myself, you know what, it doesn't matter anyway. It's me venting
right
when I probably shouldn't vent. You know, now I know you and I we tandem. We do a lot of things the same way, where we'll probe to see where people are responding and what they're looking at.
Right.
And it kind of gives you an idea. Now the monitoring is in place. I've turned that back a lot. I really have. And I know you go to the limits and stuff, which is fun. But yeah, social media, you're just going to have to learn that they throw all those disclosures in. So what the big print gives you, the small print takes right back.
Right.
And you just got to learn that, hey, you know what? It's their format, and they're not going to let you forget that.
True.
And so it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But, you know.
The way I look at it is, if you figure out a way that impacts them in some way that they have to change their policy. I mean, and I don't know what push that has to be to get them to realize that, you know, when people are talking on there, there's kind of a misunderstood idea that there's a First Amendment right, even though you may be telling your niece, nephew, wife, husband, whatever, some kind of thought-provoking message on there. If it's taken in the wrong context, somebody will take offense to it and turn your ass in.
Right.
And suddenly this very harmless thing that you did suddenly gets turned against you. And for me, because Facebook plays a very integral part in the communication with myself and my other family members.
Right.
I tell you what, when I go dark, through, you know, particularly when nobody knows why,
right,
and then
the phone starts to ring,
and then people are trying to communicate with me, and they don't have another means of reaching me. Like, hey, I only know how to reach Sam through Facebook. I don't have his personal phone number, so I can't. I was like, man, that can be sort of a debilitating thing.
Sure it can.
So
yeah, you got to think twice anymore. But you know, that's just Facebook. It's just social media, so it's no big deal. You know, we were talking before we get too far down this. So they had a volunteer event at the Veterans Memorial Cemetery this week.
This for one of the
putting the wreaths on the grave?
Oh yeah. That's an annual thing.
And so they had a huge turnout, but one of the things that was really disheartening for me was they didn't have enough wreaths to make the commitment on all the headstones. And it was really sad. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to contact them. I'm going to contact that administrator, and I'm kind of wanting to throw this out there right now. I think that we should all get together and think about how we can help this not happen again. Because I'm going to contact.
Who supplied the wreath?
That's I don't know. I'm going to contact BRCC guys. I'm going to contact Rob. Doc and Rob, and talk to them. I talked to a couple other guys, and I'm sure they're already thinking about this as well.
Right.
I think we can't let that happen. I mean, we can't allow veterans that have served and made the ultimate sacrifice for the country.
Right.
And I couldn't have stood there and watched only half of those be done and then walk away not knowing that the other half didn't get a wreath.
Because I know of two members that are within the Houston Drinking Brothers that play a very active role in veterans affairs. You know, we know one of them.
Yes.
And the other one is the guy that's got. I'm not going to throw their names out.
No, because that's who I'm going to talk to about it. I'm going to contact him directly.
Because I know he has with his connection with the VFW hall that he's very high up.
Oh yeah.
He will definitely have something to say about it.
I think so. I mean, I felt good that people were out there volunteering, but the problem is they had a lot of volunteers. Not enough resource. And so I'm looking at a country that's giving away things to people that I believe are criminals. And yet we have the ones that are honored, that should be honored, that are
ignored.
They're being ignored. And I have a real problem with that. So I just wanted to bring that up before I forget it, because that really was kind of settling on my mind most of the evening last night. And so, if you're out there listening and it's something you think you want to, be a part of or check into, you can reach us through our Facebook page. We're real easy to get to, and we would definitely appreciate hearing from people on this, because I think it's terrible that this is happening. And right. I don't know if it was because of a supply issue or a funding issue, but we're going to get to the bottom of it and talk about it again, because that just can't happen. It just can't. And I'm going to do my best to make sure it doesn't happen again next year.
Yeah, I was not aware of that. No.
Yeah, it's something they keep quiet. I mean, it's, you don't want that getting out, but that's going back to social media. My concern will be now, if I start running this up, I wonder what kind of obstruction I'll get.
Yeah,
about that, because
somebody will look at as potential blowback. Or
exactly.
Like that.
Yeah. So anyway, it was an interesting thing. I know it's kind of hard to get through a week without talking about the crazy shit that goes on right now. I mean, we got 3 things up here that I know we're gonna be able to work up pretty good on. Which one do you want to talk about?
Well, the one that just recently popped in my head, and it's not on this list, was kind of heartfelt sympathy goes out to the Nassau Bay police officer that was...
Oh, my goodness, yes. Yeah.
She was killed. I think she was, run over.
Yeah, she was run over. She was... they were attempting to detain and arrest a guy.
Yes, yeah.
And he got in the car, and I don't know if she was attached to him.
Yeah.
Or what, but he basically ran her over and fled the scene.
What's crazy, so I saw the news story show up. What was funny was when I was on the Drinking Brothers page, and it was probably the main body that I was on, somebody there happened to bring up something about that person that was they're holding responsible as doing this. And the guy says, "Hey, this dude's fucking Instagram page is live." So I go to the dude's page, and now this dude is a straight up thug. Okay, so personally, upon looking at him, he looks like a punk.
Yes,
and I mean like prison punk. So yeah, he looks like he has been somebody's bitch before.
Yeah, and I'm going to mention her name because she deserves to be. I mean, Kayla Sullivan.
Yeah, because she
was a sergeant with the Nassau Bay Police Department. 43-year-old woman, family. I mean, it's pretty sad, but it was a traffic stop at an apartment complex, and her and another officer were stopping Henderson and found out he was wanted for a family assault. It was an assault charge. That's right. And he fought with him during the arrest, and he was able to break free. And he got back in the car and drove away, and he hit her as he was driving away, and he left. So the story goes on. So
because
he's on the run for a few days.
His mother and her fiance got involved.
Yeah,
they took harboring.
Him. They took him to they were harboring and took him to a hotel.
I saw that.
And so they were arrested as well. And they were going back to him, they were holding him on a $150,000 bond and let him out.
Yeah, he's out.
Okay, now...
he's also wanted on a bond in friggin' Montgomery County.
Here's what happened. So the police chief the social media blow up was amazing. People were so upset that this officer was killed by a guy that a Harris County magistrate...
who's now still walking the streets.
Yeah, and he's out walking the streets. So what they did is this police chief contacted surrounding counties and found out all the charges that were federal against this guy. They're all federal charges. So they went back to the judge and they rescinded the bond and no bonded him. They got him.
Okay, so
he is apprehended and in jail.
So he's back to being a prison punk.
A prison punk. So his mother this morning they upgraded her $50,000 bond to a no bond as well.
Yeah, I saw that. My parents are constantly watching local news,
so she's in too. I don't know about the boyfriend though.
Yeah.
But her excuse was that he's a good boy. And my mom, what am I supposed to do? And I'm thinking, as a mom, you're supposed to make sure your children understand and uphold the law. And if they break the law,
tell them to turn themselves in.
You're the right one. You're the best person to get them in there.
Right.
Because if you're worried about them being shot for resisting or anything like that, then you should walk him in.
Right.
I mean, why would you leave it to chance like that? So again, this is going to be another a poor youth from from a broken home,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we're going to hear all this crap instead of taking responsibility for his crime. But then again, too, we were just reading at lunch a story about a 22-year-old kid from our area that struck a lady walking down the street.
Yeah, that's right. Just a few miles down the road.
Yeah, just a few miles down the road. She was walking down one of the side streets and got hit by this kid. He drove about a half mile, stopped, and called his parents.
Right.
And he didn't stop at the scene because he was afraid. He didn't know what to do. So his parents obviously said, well, you got to go back to the scene. You got to call 911 and go back to the scene.
Right.
So when they did, they arrested him. And it's undetermined yet on whether she jumped up front of the car. Or, I mean, I can tell you on that road, the thing that infuriates me about people in this whole part of the country, the part of Harris County, we have sidewalks everywhere, yet they insist on walking on the street.
Now that road that they're referring to, that, if I remember right, that's just like a 2-lane road.
It's a 2-lane road, but
ditches.
There's plenty along that fence line. There's plenty of area to walk along that fence line.
I'm not.
You do not need to be on the road on that side of the road. And a lot of people, they just could she have been out there to get insurance fraud?
Yeah, in this day and age of insurance fraud is.
She could have just been high. She could have been distraught and just decided this is where I'm going to end it.
Yeah,
you don't know. Well, but the kid's parents. The reason why I brought it up is kids' parents are like, no, you need to dial 911. You need to go back to the scene and tell the officers what happened.
Yeah,
they didn't take him and hide him. Okay. And you know what I'm saying?
That goes into a whole different story, though.
I know, but we don't want to do that, but because then we'll really get a lot of trouble with that. But it's sad because it's like, look, as parents, I mean, you're supposed to be raising good citizens, not a burden on society.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what's going on there. But I don't.
I just wanted to mention her because that was just a tragic thing that happened.
It's terrible, yeah. Anytime, I mean, we're starting to see ambushes now and things like that. But what people forget is these are career criminals. These are hardened criminals that are bound and determined not to go back to jail.
Right.
Or they're out there. It's like, I'm just going to kill a cop, and it's turned into. There's a lot of hate. When you had the previous administration sanctioning and allowing people to basically rebel against the police without any kind of comment from their office, and then supporting activists and celebrities that supported these bad activities towards law enforcement. Look,
when you start painting and portraying law enforcement as having an agenda that makes them appear as if they're racist, overall, an industry that their sole reason to exist.
That's almost racist in itself.
I was like, okay, do I realize that there are some bad actors in law enforcement?
Yes.
Absolutely, there are, and I don't give them a pass at all.
No,
but to suddenly paint the entire everybody who wears the fucking uniform as being racist, no, you're full of shit. You're just as dumb as the person who wants to castigate an entire goddamn industry.
Right. Well, and that's just moving into that. There's a did you hear about this student in New Mexico?
No, you sent me the information yesterday. And it's like it was on a format that I really can't do shit.
Right.
With, so.
Well, sometimes these things don't go well on mobile apps. But it was a student at University of New Mexico who's arrested on a court charge day before his graduation. 27-year-old engineering student at engineering in Albuquerque was charged with illegal possession of a firearm, according to the affidavit from the U.S. District Court of New Mexico. He was arrested on Friday with a little .380 pistol and a box of ammo. But he also was interested. They were looking at his searches and discussions and found that he was also looking at purchasing an AK-47 rifle.
So they did a deep dive of his computer, probably?
Yes, because somebody turned him in, okay?
Yeah.
So a tipster turned him in, and a number of professors also were kind of worried about this kid's state of mind.
So wait a minute. So
he had a kill list.
So he hadn't done anything.
He hadn't done anything, but he had a kill list, okay? So I'm going to tell you, I'm all behind this arrest. I'm behind it. If you have a guy that purchased a firearm, the status of him being a foreign student in the United States of America,
which is right now that's a growing concern.
Yes,
it's going to be.
It is
still in the process of vetting that process.
Right, and so what he ends up doing, he's a Saudi citizen. He's not a U.S. citizen.
So the fact that Saudi shows up,
so he put a list. He had a list of people he wanted to kill before he leaves the U.S. and went home.
So that they say who was on that list?
A couple professors. They're not going to give the names.
That's like, were they
I can tell you right now.
Were they other Saudis?
I know, right? Isn't that? It's just crazy. But
any associations with any of our most recent events?
Well, I think so. He's saying that this firearm may have been purchased by a female.
Oh, so that was a purchase?
Yeah, a straw purchase may have been. And I don't know. We'll see. There's still more coming out of this. But it's kind of, I mean, criminals do criminal things. People with evil hearts can do evil things.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those, because right now we got this whole thing with Virginia going on right now that I don't know how much of that's posturing and how much that's going to be legit.
You're going to have to tell me about Virginia.
So the governor of Virginia is wanting to pass really hardcore firearm laws. That are, and then he wants to institute a confiscation.
Ooh.
So in this confiscation, a lot of the county sheriffs are like, look, we're just declaring ourselves as Second Amendment sanctuaries, and we are not going to enforce that. So the governor says, yes, you are, and if not, we'll use the National Guard to do it. So the National Guard responded to that. Okay, so I mean, they didn't say no, we're not going to do it. He's just saying they're just saying that. Look, this is a process that you just don't jump into.
So
they're stalling on it.
Did you say the National Guard responded?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll pull it up.
So did the National Guard say, "Okay, Governor, we'll go do your thing"?
No, I'll tell you how.
Because at the core, at least how I'm looking at it with just the information, is the governor's basically removing your Second Amendment right.
Sure.
That's how I'm looking at it.
Well, what he doesn't realize is the Constitution of the United States protects you against governors like this. So we'll look it up. There's a letter from the National Guard. Let's see where we're at here. The governor basically said there's going to be consequences. The law is law, and we're going to enforce the law. And so,
so has this legislation passed?
No, it has not. But the National Guard received questions regarding this whole...
Hell, you'd get questions alone from your own troops.
Yeah, the National Guard basically says, we understand and respect the passion people feel for the U.S. Constitution and Second Amendment rights. We will not speculate about the possible use of the Virginia National Guard. So there's a lot going on here. This guy clearly does not understand the law. I actually wrote a comment that was I wouldn't say censored, but it was heavily scrutinized for my content. And what I basically said was
scrutinized by other
people on that. Yeah, some were political on that page as politicians as well. And I was like, look, before anybody is allowed to run for office, before they can even throw their hat in the ring, they should have to pass a U.S. and state constitutional test to be sure that they understand the law.
I'll uphold the Constitution.
Yes, and
not try to take constitutional rights away.
Exactly, to subvert it. And so I caught a lot of grief for that. A lot of people were like, well, what makes you the expert? And I said, well, I'm not. The Constitution is, the document is, the Law Center is.
Right.
Just because you don't like something and you get elected and you go into office doesn't mean that you represent the whole of the people.
Yeah, you're the voice.
You are there to do the bidding of the people, not your own agenda.
Right.
And you have a whole state of people telling you this is not what we want, when the majority of your counties turn themselves into 2A sanctuaries. Okay, which I think is interesting because you can turn a city into a immigration sanctuary city.
Yeah.
But you're telling the actual citizens of the country that their constitutional right doesn't matter. And we're going to...
The thing that you were born into.
Yes. And so this thing has really turned into a huge quagmire. Like I said, I don't get too involved because it's not... It's not a... it's not a battle you're going to win outright, because ideology is ideology,
right?
And the Constitution is the Constitution. And
the mere fact that word unprecedented,
yes,
pops up in conversation,
yes,
ought to tell you alone that this dude is venturing down. I mean, he's trailblazing here.
Sure,
and hopefully he's trailblazing to a cliff.
Well, I'm hoping he's recalled. That's what I basically prompted the citizens of that state to entertain the fact that you recall somebody that does not understand the law.
Right.
That's just like here in Harris County. I mean, if you look at what goes on where we live,
right,
this is unbelievable. This officer that we've just talked about that got ran over was run over by a career criminal.
Right.
Released on one of their programs. I'm like, at some point in time, they're telling you can't protect yourself. Okay, you can't own the things to protect yourself. But we're going to go ahead and let people out that are going to do harm to you.
Right.
I'm telling you, it's
even though we know that there's evidence that supports, we know that they're going to continue being a bad actor, but we're going to let them go anyway.
Yeah, and so I always ask myself, well, what's the motivation behind why they do this? Is it their goal to flip? Is it their goal to flip the value systems that are in place? Is it, because when you have a country that is governed by a document that's pretty clear, that you don't teach in school anymore, and you get everybody to go by feelings and what public opinion is, this is where you get in trouble with it.
Right.
And that way, they know that you're not going to get the mass support from the uneducated. And I'm talking about people that have been to university. I'm not talking about rednecks and the average working guy. I'm talking about people that go to university that were not educated on the Constitution or the United States. I remember when I was in school, I had to pass a state constitutional exam, and I had to pass a federal constitutional exam before I was allowed to graduate high school.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was how Missouri was. Missouri at the time, you had to take a state test, or your school on the Constitution of Missouri. Then you had to also take and pass the U.S. constitutional. And then that was right around the time everybody was signing up for selective service as well.
Okay.
So, it all happened all together. You take your SATs or whatever you take, and you take these other two tests, and you go on and enjoy your life. But they don't do that anymore.
I remember government in high school, and also, when I turned 18 in my last year of high school, having to go down and register for the selective service because that was still a requirement then. I don't even know if that's a deal now.
Yeah. Well, the guy's backtracking over there right now. He's basically saying if we have laws on the book and officers are not enforcing the law, then there's going to be consequences. But he finishes that off by saying, but we'll cross that bridge if and when we get to it. Right after he just made the statement, well, we'll just use the National Guard.
Right.
And then what's really sad is one of the senators of that state is a convicted pedophile.
What?
Yeah, Worthington is a convicted pedophile. He was caught multiple times having sex with young boys, and it's like, dude.
The thing that's crazy about when somebody makes a statement like, there's something that I want to do.
Yeah.
And if it can't get done by the normal process,
I'll go around it.
When the National Guard enters the equation, to me that's like somebody throwing a fit. I'm going to throw a temper tantrum, and I'm going to do this very unrealistic, over the top thing. Well, I'll show you.
Yeah, it's Morrissey, newly elected Virginia Democrat Joe Morrissey.
Oh, so this is the guy.
Yeah, he had sex with a teenage receptionist. That's what it was. It wasn't a boy; it was a girl. It was a teenage receptionist.
Well, and it was obviously underage.
This is a Bill Clinton thing. It's all over again. This is a Bill Clinton thing. And so it was Joe Morrissey in 2014. He's elected to the Senate, and had sex with a teenage receptionist and has been disbarred. You would think,
the whole disbarring thing alone.
Yeah,
he's not even qualified. He did all the things to become a lawyer, but he was a piece of shit. That's why we couldn't let him be a lawyer.
Well,
but yet he can run the state.
Yeah, and what's even funnier is we had a former president and first lady who both had to turn in. They had to resign their bar in the state of Illinois because of a real estate deal with Tony Rezko.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember so both the Obamas were not actually practicing lawyers at the time,
because I remember
they were in state office.
The deal with Michelle Obama was something about. either I don't know if it was a disbarring versus I guess were you voluntarily
yes, to avoid prosecution.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
and usually a lot of times that's just a negotiated thing.
Right.
You know, hey, we promise we won't take you to court, but you have to, on faith, you have to give your thing up. So just so you can go out in public and somebody can't say, hey, they were disbarred.
Right. Well, a lot of these agreements have what's called moral turpitude clauses.
Yeah. Okay. We've talked about that before.
Well, the sad thing about the moral turpitude clause is how do you establish the ground now if you have pan and transsexual, if you have, you know what I'm saying? If you're breaking away from, because morality is basically based on a standardized code of public behavior.
Right. But you can.
But when you move that line,
the way that society is now, or at least in the political arena, is there's ways of negotiating that out of the language being applied to you. So technically you were going down this road, but because you decided to seek counsel and maybe a mediator, y'all came up with a interpretation that allowed you to avoid carrying that label.
Right.
So, and that's the thing that drives me nuts is if you had to leave office and this was even remotely on the table, that label is yours.
Yeah.
You can tell me all day long that a contract says that you voluntarily gave up, but as far as I'm concerned, and what really it should say, it's just a veiled way of saying you're a piece of shit. You have no morals whatsoever. You have no moral compass.
Right. And that's where the rub is. So if you remember back when BHO was president and he sealed his records, remember that?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these people now feel like they can exempt themselves from public scrutiny. Well, when you run for office, your records really should be public, okay? One thing I found was very hypocritical was, so everybody is interested in Trump's tax returns.
Tax returns, yeah.
Okay, and if I was Trump, I would open the books after everybody opened their books.
Right. So, because I did ask that question one time in an exchange on Twitter, my deal was, is there a constitutional requirement?
No.
And the answer was no.
No.
And so the reason why everybody continues to bitch is because every other president before just voluntarily did it. So I was like, so what you're telling me right now is it's kind of unprecedented what he's doing now. Even though there's no law that says, hey, you have to open up your books for everybody. I'm not saying that he's probably not a piece of shit.
No, I don't.
But the fact that there's not a law that says you are compelled to do this.
Right. So did Hillary disclose all her tax records?
No. I personally think that she created an entity that as long as nobody knows who that freaking entity is, that entity may collect all the money that she makes, and that she just gets the entity, she just gets her money through the goodwill of the entity.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. Would that be the Clinton Foundation?
Could be.
You know, that's what I'm saying. You know, the whole hypocrisy of the way these people act. But then they want to rain down on us, the average citizens. And I'll tell you how simple it gets. You remember kids' toys?
Yeah.
Remember when we were kids' toys? Remember one of the coolest toys that came out was the Nerf gun?
Oh, absolutely.
Remember that? You used to get that little gun, you'd cock it and shoot a yellow Nerf ball, about an inch ball. And
I remember when they were just freaking darts.
So we had the Nerf balls when I was a kid. When they first came out, they were Nerf balls. Then they turned to darts later.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Nerf ball was a little yellow ball.
I probably remember that.
Size of a ping pong ball, basically, and it was a Nerf gun.
I mainly had like Nerf footballs and stuff.
Sure.
I never really had like Nerf guns because we were always playing
had pellet
sports.
and BB guns when I was a kid, so we shot each other with BB guns. We're still alive,
and we were always playing sports, which made sense to get the Nerf footballs and basketballs and stuff like that.
Well, there's so Bloomberg's running for president, so he's funding all this crap right here. So a Empire State Consumer Project has asked Hasbro to stop producing assault-style Nerf guns.
So is this supposed to be like a good faith thing?
I'm assuming it is. Yeah, it's kind of sad because
assault style.
Yeah, they like to connect words. They like to use words and connect words that that have no meaning, but in their world it does. But it says, how does promoting playing with huge automatic weapons create joy, creativity, and connection with the world?
Oh, I brought a freaking smile to my face.
I mean, to tell you, we used to have a blast when we were kids.
So, before we got on here, started talking about this is, for me, when I move the ball forward and I look, like 20 years down the road, let's just say that hypothetically Nerf decides to honor that request and stops doing that.
Right.
The first thing that pops in my head is that if you remove maybe a child's first introduction to the concept of guns, that technically you will create a whole generation that has never.
Hollywood would have to quit making movies that are violent to do that. But they'd have to destroy all the DVDs and videos of all the older movies that did that.
Yes. Yeah, good point.
Literally wouldn't happen. Here's interesting. So Hasbro spends millions of dollars on research and development of products.
Yeah.
Do you think that they go out there and deliberately make a product that nobody wants to buy?
No.
Exactly. They're making a product that's in demand. And kids play with these things all the time. Here's the thing that liberals need to understand is that we've been playing Cowboys and Indians ever since we were kids. We used to play G.I. Joe when we were kids. We used to do all this stuff. We used to duck, goose, hide and seek. Sure. All these games are based upon those instinctive things that we do. So we used to shoot each other with BB guns when we were kids. We're not mass shooters. Right. We're not going out and doing stuff like that. We respect those. We respect life and things like that. But what you get this group,
understand it's a game.
It's a game for sure. But this group here basically is trying now to tell this company how they want them to run. They want a toy company to make Nerf products for a child's peace-filled imagination. The group also states that children don't really like Nerf guns, but Hasbro, through their advertising, is pressuring kids into playing with them.
So the thing is from that to coin a phrase from Fight Club, is Tyler Durden's deal about basically you're going to raise a generation that's as calm as Hindu cattle.
Right.
They won't know how to raise a hand or a fist in defense. Or assault, to protect yourself or to fight back. Mm-hmm. As far as I'm concerned, that's a horrible idea. And the fact that you're going to teach your kids or a generation of kids how to be prey. So fuck that.
What I think is funny is fathers and sons have been playing with Nerf guns forever. That's the game. You're always playing that game, right?
Right.
And you're playing with your friends. Now, I would rather have a child that knows that if they see a gun pointed at them, they're not going to stand there and get shot.
Right. When
you play Nerf, you don't stand there and say, shoot me, right? You try not to get shot. You try to get him before he gets you.
Sure.
Okay, so to me, if there's an active shooter, isn't that the instinct you'd want your child to have?
Right.
Somebody pointing a gun or sees a gun, you're going to go hide.
Yeah, cover.
Find cover.
Hard cover, concealment, something.
Yeah, exactly. So these people are crazy, okay? They're typically agenda-type driven people.
Uh-huh.
When you have your head in the sand, when you turn around and say it's okay for drag queens to go read stories to kids in school, and you're trying to shape that perception of what is called normal life, and you tell the kids that have been playing these games with their dads and their friends for centuries that, oh, no, you're all wrong and this isn't what we want. And then the marketing information from this company that spends millions of dollars on these products and these ideas are told that this is what kids want.
Right. I wonder if they would, if I sent them a mold of a firearm and chocolate, I wonder if they'd eat it.
That's a very fair question. That's actually a really good question. But it's almost is that ridiculous?
Yeah. You're getting lost on what this thing is versus it's a piece of chocolate shaped in something that you may or may not agree with.
Right.
But leave it at that. The fact that you're now going to be the voice and kind of the chess piece mover of everything going forward. No. I didn't give you that kind of power. I don't even know who this freaking group is.
Yeah, it's definitely a Bloomberg finance group. To me, it's a propaganda front. It's basically an agendist propaganda front that gets attention.
Right.
Because that's really all they're all about. That's all they're trying to do is get this on the forefront and get it on the front page so that it's there.
Yeah, I can see that. It's just to get on the front page and to create some sort of a fire in the media and get people talking.
But I also have another theory.
And the timing at Christmas. On top
exactly.
Of all that.
But I also have another theory as far as the agenda, and this is going to go a little deep, so we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
So
hold on, let me get my tinfoil.
There you go. Get the tinfoil out, because here's where I look at it. So when you're looking at people that cite reports and they cite studies, you know where I'm going.
Well, because as long as the report says the way it reads the way you want it to read, then that's the one you're going to cite.
Yeah. So what they end up doing is they end up collecting money. Say they get a grant. Say they get a state grant to fund a study. Say I'm the guy with the agenda, and I'm saying, okay, Sam, I want you to write a report for me. You're my best friend from school. We do club things together. I'm going to give you $1 million to produce a study for me.
Right.
So I've just moved money from the taxpayer to you.
What if it's just about collecting money?
Yeah, exactly. That's why my whole theory is that all these groups that are out there, if you look at how many tens of thousands of think tank study groups are out there that are just milking off the taxpayer. They're literally like the impeachment hearings, when they start citing reports of people that nobody knows even exists. So Biden, for example, let's look at the Clintons, the Bidens, the Kerrys, and the Pelosi's. All their children are set up in these cush jobs with no experience, taking in money from all different entities. Do you think that money's staying with those kids?
Oh no, it's
going back to mom and dad, okay? And it's off of our tax dollars. It's off of our office.
Really, the Bidens, the Clintons, the Pelosi's, and so on.
Yeah,
really, they're just pimping their kids out.
That's exactly what they're doing, and they're making all kinds of money on it. Harry Reid, all of them. They're all doing
there's
it.
A name I haven't heard in a while.
Well, that's because they come close to shutting him down. He just disappeared. Plus, his brother beat the shit out of him.
What?
He showed up all beat up and bruised, and him and his brother got in a drunken ball at a
recently
brawl about 4 years ago. He said it was a treadmill accident, and it really wasn't, because eyewitnesses says his drunk brother beat the crap out of him.
It's like a treadmill full of hammers.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so you have all these people that are put into office, and what bothers me is when people call them our leaders, or our they're not our leaders. Okay, they're elected representatives.
Right.
Because I got into a huge semantic battle with somebody on a political page about that. He goes, they're not employees. Oh, yes, they are.
Wait a minute. He said that elected officials. Yeah,
elected. He says you got it all wrong. Elected officials are not employees of the people. And I'm like,
how the fuck do you think they got there to begin with?
So I basically said, okay, since you probably missed the better part of 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, I'll explain how civics works. I said, so when a person campaigns, that's their interview process.
Yes.
They're going out there telling you who I am, what makes me qualified, why you should vote for me, and here's what I'll do if you vote for me. That's an interview, okay? That means he's sitting there and he's telling you all the things that you want to hear.
Right.
Okay,
I hope I tell a convincing enough story to cause you to not want to second guess anything I just said.
I said, right. So now I get elected, and I do completely opposite, or don't even intend on doing what I said I was going to do.
That's the snake. That's the snake oil.
So if I was an employee and I did that at a company I work for, they would terminate me.
Right.
Okay. It's the same relationship that you have. Is that Lucy? We have Lucy in the studio.
She's probably around the corner.
Yeah. We have Lucy in the studio growling at stuff. But that's where the citizen drops the ball. If you have somebody that's elected and they're working for you, it's your job to make sure that they have fiduciary oversight.
Yeah, I don't personally. And really, the public is distracted. That's a horrible way to say it, but they're occupied living their own lives.
That's what they count on.
So they're trying to live their own lives, but they don't have enough time to scrutinize the job that these elected officials have been selected to do.
That's the game that they play.
And that's really how I look at it, is the politician hopes that trend continues.
Sure.
At least, if I was a politician and I was thinking, or I was devoting any kind of bandwidth to thinking about the voter, I would hope that, hey, I hope none of these guys get smart and want to call a quorum to find out what kind of a job I'm doing, and then suddenly bring up these items that I've basically fallen short with, even though they were on my list of things that I promised during the campaign.
Right. Well, so keeping in that thought track, okay? There you go, Lucy. Take that toy out of here. We're having Lucy interruption in here, but so going back to the original premise of watching Fiducial Responsibility, let's talk about two lovely ladies. Okay.
Oh yes,
Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon. I mean, they're, to me, I love them both. They're great actresses.
Yeah, they're very successful.
They're very successful people. They make good content. So what's interesting is they have this show called The Morning Show. Okay. And it's basically loosely around the whole Matt Lauer, that
just
type
the whole
of
daytime,
the daytime morning show,
whatever
thing.
they call that.
So it's Apple TV, I think, is the one that's doing it. Apple TV,
yeah, because this is sort of their first foray into having their own
like an episodic content. Streaming content with episodes. So they're getting paid $2 million per episode each.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't have a problem with that.
People are up in arms about it.
Yes.
Now, to your point earlier, you were saying that they're so busy that they can't be looking at politicians, yet they have time to bitch about these two girls that make $2 million each per episode.
Right. And in a kind of in a nutshell with what Reese Witherspoon said in a interview is that, hey, a lot of people on the TV side and a lot of people on our side sat down and threw these numbers out and figured out, hey, when everything is said and done, the ask that the actresses are asking, number one is these are not people that just showed up. The body of their work can be found on just about every streaming service out there. They do quality work. They're very good at what they do.
I think they are.
So as far as I'm concerned, do I have a problem with them making that kind of money from a series that? No, I don't. And the fact that they're getting paid, somebody, the streaming service, Apple, whoever is involved, realize that the money that they're paying out for this thing, they're going to make that money back, however many folds.
Just by having them associated to it.
Yeah, just the marketing that's available to them.
Well,
and these are nobody. I hate to say it, but these are fans.
Yeah.
But they're focusing on the salary that these people are making versus being entertained by what it is that they're making.
Right. Yeah, it's I look at, so it's not the fact that they're making $2 million each per episode. That's not what bothers me, because I think that's an obscene amount of money and nobody's really worth that much. I'm looking at it at the context of the world. Okay,
right.
I'm looking at it as if I'm still going to wrangle on the politicians. When you go in there and you don't have any money and then you become a multimillionaire after 5 terms in office, I have more of a problem with that than I do this actress, because I'm getting something back from them.
I will say that, when we're looking at work performed, they have something to produce that says, here's why I'm paid this amount of money.
Well, they're generating revenue.
Yes.
They're giving you an entertainment value. And also, too, I mean, when you look in the world of Hollywood, there's a lot of screw-ups out there. A lot of people get drugs and all this other stuff they get into. These are two pretty clean celebrities right here that I think do a lot of good stuff. But when you look at athletes, and I know that the athlete thing came up. So recently, Houston Astros lost Garrett Cole to the Yankees for what? It was like a 9-year contract. It was like almost $300 million value of this contract. Okay. So personally, it's a baseball player. I don't think anybody in sports is worth that amount of money.
Is this one of the pitchers?
Yeah, the pitcher.
Okay, I know exactly.
Yeah. So I'm not going to poo-poo on Garrett Cole for taking the money.
No.
If somebody is stupid enough to walk up and say, I'm willing to take a risk on you for 9 years, and I'm going to guarantee...
Kudos to his agent for being able to take his talents and say, hey, this is what my client can do. This is
not anything to be upset about unless you support... If you're supporting it, if you're buying tickets, season tickets, merchandise, you're supporting it. That's just the way it is. If it's that much of an issue to you, don't support it.
Right.
And let the money dry up and let the revenue fall, and that market will adjust. So there was 3 ball players that went over $250 million on multi-year contracts so far this year. So Boras, the Scott Boras, the agent, almost $1 billion in just 3 guys. Talent, and I think he gets 10% of that, which is a pretty good run. If I was an agent,
it's like Scott Boras alone gets a lot of hate.
Why would I not? Why would I not do that though? If somebody's willing to pay me to do that, and they know that they've done the metrics, saying that we will make this back in revenue, merchandising, asses in the seats, and people watching on TV. More power to them. Right. If you got a problem, don't support it financially in any way.
This is where social media plays a part into this, is when you just go look at the page alone for your favorite player, just fill in the blank.
Right.
You will find out alone, okay, first off, this player has this many followers. And, theoretically, a certain percentage of those followers will translate into buying legally sanctioned league gear, stuff like that. How many of those people also live in the vicinity of where this potential ball team or this organization wants to hire him?
Right.
What's the likelihood of them showing up to a freaking game?
Right.
I mean, there are all these little tangents out there that organizations look at to find out whether something's a good investment or not.
Yeah, I think the fact that they're bringing up with these women that why should it even be a gender argument? Because it came up. It came up about the equal pay, not enough powerful women in positions like this, and I'm like, really?
And there were other items like brought up. Like how come this didn't happen like back in the I want to say the 80s or 90s? It was brought up, and it was also a different time. Back then, if you took your clothes off, you definitely got more money. Yeah, but nobody,
which is kind of wrong, but I understand it.
Nobody's going to challenge these people on their pay, saying, "Okay, well, you don't give the same kind of opportunities to women as you do these men."
Right.
And the thing is, this is no way. Am I saying that the decisions were right? That's just how the world worked then.
Right.
And, the fact that you can't go back and change history 20 years to make it reflect an attitude that you have now, well, I don't know what to tell you there. You need to come to grips with that was then and this is now.
Right.
So be thankful with some of the opportunities that you have now, and those opportunities will just get better.
Right.
But the fact that these 2 women are paid this phenomenal amount of money, whether they deserve it or not, the fact is it was negotiated, people agreed, and that's it. That should be left alone.
And all the pressure is on them to deliver.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as if it's a foregone conclusion that this is going to be a series that goes on for a while. They're going to have those metrics need to meet up. Those vectors need to cross. Hey, we got this money invested in this, and we're actually ahead of schedule or we're behind schedule.
Right.
That's going to tell you what adjustment you need to make in your content.
Yes.
And that's what people, I mean, like I said, I don't have a problem with this. I haven't seen it. I'm probably not even going to watch it.
Right. I don't know. It's probably, I don't know if it's a service that I subscribe to.
Yeah, Apple TV.
But I won't ignore it because of all this bullshit news about pay. If it's a good show, it's a good show.
I'm more worried about politicians stealing tax dollars. These girls are not stealing tax dollars.
No.
They're basically getting free enterprise capitalism going right there.
Days pay for a day's work.
Exactly. I'm worried about the guy that gets elected into office or the lady that gets elected into office.
Exactly.
Using the office to extort,
influence,
steal, hide, coerce. That's the real quid pro quo that goes on. And with this whole impeachment thing, it's going to be interesting because it's supposed to go to a House vote this week. I personally don't give a shit. I'm voting for the guy again.
Yeah.
I want a guy that's exposing everybody for what they're doing. They're just pissed off. They're pissed off because they didn't get their way and they didn't get to bully their way through the society like they wanted to. They're going to push the wrong person, and I think they already have. I think they found the vein of resistance that they're not going to accept this totalitarian liberal socialist agenda bullshit.
So the one thing that I will say, if there's a silver lining that a progressive or a Democrat is looking for in it, I don't care what your party affiliation is. I just have a different set of beliefs than people that are in a progressive mindset.
Right.
So really, it's just 4 more years, okay? And then he'll be gone, and then we can have this fight over who's going to be there now. But the fact that if you think that this effort that they're going through now is going to somehow prevent him from possibly getting into office, if anything, I think it's strengthened him.
Oh, I do too. I think for sure it has. It just, I don't know. People are crazy. But let's move away from this for a little bit and talk about something fun.
Okay. What do we got? Oh, I read
the Ring cameras. Yeah. So a family in Mississippi said a man hacked into their Ring home security system that's shared with their daughters, and he basically was telling these kids that he's Santa Claus.
So he was talking to them?
He's talking to them, saying, "I'm watching you. Are you being naughty or nice?" Yeah. So the FBI is actually right in the middle of this. The FBI is looking into this whole intrusion, and which is. So Amazon owns Ring right now, so I'm sure Amazon's getting a lot of questions over this.
I didn't know they owned it.
Yeah,
okay.
But this isn't the only one. This has happened to other families in other areas. And so what it's going to boil down to is
Google
passwords.
Nest? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what that...
Well, it's going to boil down to your password. You know what the most popular password, the most common password in America is today?
It's 1234.
1234. Yeah. And it's
this
really...
showed up in the show that I used to watch, Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
That was one of the running jokes.
So I've been to many
password being the password.
Right. I've been to many online security seminars and because we used to make recommendations to our companies on what direction they should use social media. And the first thing they always said was that hacker is not really the right term. Okay. An opportunist is the right term, because somebody has to leave something open, omit something, leave a pathway for that guy to get in.
Predictability.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
and it comes down to the whole password protection thing. I mean, if you think about it, when you look at passwords, I have to write mine down because I have so many.
Yeah.
I have to keep a book, and I keep it under lock and key, but I have to get to it because I have so many accounts that have passwords. I'm not going to use the same password. I'm not going to be mentally lazy.
Right.
And use the same password on all my accounts, because then once you find the key, you've gotten into everything.
Sure.
So I have to keep, and then some accounts will force you to change them every 6 months.
Yeah, which my first, really kind of my first exposure into diligent password security was in the Army.
Yeah.
Because when I had my first Army email account, that was like an every 90 days, I think. And even like my sign in through the VA, they're just as diligent. And now that I think about it, I'm just as frustrated with theirs, because the thing that they also do is they keep a list of 10 last used passwords.
Oh yeah.
And it better not be one of those passwords, because you'll just have to come up with a
change one digit, one number somewhere. Yeah, I'm not going to give away how I do mine, but mine's coded.
Yeah, I have a process.
I have a way I code mine and do them, and it's a certain, and it's so random and unpredictable. You're never going to figure it out, and that's the key to it. You remember Catch Me If You Can? Yeah. So Abagnale, he did a seminar. Actually, it's a webinar.
Is that the one we listened to?
Frank Abagnale. Which was phenomenal. He was talking about the levels of security and access that people just spend their time looking for.
Sure.
After I listened to that a couple times, it made me revisit, because we had an account hacked to the tune of $10,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was all stupidity on our part, because we left that amount of money sitting in an account that we used every day.
Okay.
So we were able to now readdress that issue. So we have multiple accounts that watch each other.
Okay.
Okay. And then we have one that's a daily use that has a capped limit in it.
Okay.
Okay. You can't automatically roll more into it without going through a process.
This is something I have to do with my parents because there's something there that they do that makes me nervous.
Yeah, and so what ends up happening now is we get more notification, which I don't mind.
Yeah.
Especially when you're using a credit card on the road. Because American Express, all these companies, they have algorithms that log your purchasing habits.
The only issue I see with something like that, because I did run into a situation where I was receiving notification about
activity.
So basically, it was me who was using the card, but the fact that I was using it and I was in an area where it was sort of a deserted island of Wi-Fi, I couldn't reach out to let them know, hey, it's me.
Yeah,
it's me that's using this card. So the mere fact that I couldn't confirm what they were trying to inquire about basically locked me out.
I'm pretty good at letting them know where I'm going.
Yeah,
I will.
It's only happened to me once.
Yeah, so when you go to Vegas, that's going to be so there's certain hotspots you're going to go to that you really need to be diligent with, and Vegas is one of them. And so I would always let them know that, hey, I'll be in Las Vegas from this day to this day. I will be using this account. And so they already know.
Yeah, that's good. That's good practice.
Yeah. And that way I'm able to kind of protect myself from being locked out anywhere when I go to eat or get gas or anything like that. I think that you need to develop your own personal security. A lot of people I know are going back to cash, which I don't know if is a good idea, because the problem with cash is you got to pull it out of your pocket, and people can see you pull it out of your pocket.
But the increments that they're doing it, versus doing it versus a cyber attack,
right?
Would you rather you lose $20 or $10,000?
Right.
Me personally, I'll $20 will piss me off, but I'll get over it.
Yeah. Do you keep cash in your pocket?
Very little. I use because number one is a lot of my transactions, they happen at like point of sale places.
Right.
So I'm not doing a whole lot of things where I leave my back exposed. If somebody walks up to me, I don't have situations like that. And it's not that I don't do all of this consciously. I don't go someplace so I can go, oh my God,
right.
I don't have anybody watching my back. I don't go to those lengths.
When I used to international travel, they always suggested you keep 2 stashes of cash on you. And so I always had cash in the shoe, and I always had throwaway cash in the pocket.
Right.
And it equated anywhere between $50 and $100 in that region's
collectively
currency. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, not just in the free pocket.
Okay.
And so if I was ever robbed or anything like that, I could satisfy typically with that 50 or 100 and hopefully get away with no harm.
Because now it'd be like, oh, you only got $15 worth. What give me your watch. Give me your, give me this. Give me,
Right. So if you make it quick, if you make that transaction quick and easy, your likelihood of getting through unscathed is a lot higher.
Yeah, I understand the mentality, the kind of the psychology behind that.
So, but I don't do that here. So anybody gets ideas, you'll probably get shot.
Yeah.
Or stabbed.
So,
or beat up. Yeah. Or
speaking of which, I won a buddy of ours.
Yes.
Army units Christmas raffle. So I'm fucking happy as shit about that.
I bet so. Yeah.
So that'll be the cheapest purchase I have ever won. Number one is I don't remember ever winning a raffle before.
Yeah.
So I think probably. That was $60 in tickets going to a good cause.
Oh yeah.
And when he contacted me to let me know that I'd won, naturally the first thing I'm thinking is you're full of shit. You're calling me to yank my chain.
Isn't that funny how that goes? I won a piston action AR-15 from a local gun store.
Okay.
I bought $50 worth of raffle tickets, and I got a phone call like 3 weeks later saying, "Hey, come get your gun. You just won it." And I'm like, "Oh, quit messing with me. That ain't funny, dude." And he goes, "No, seriously, you won." So I went in there and, and did the paperwork and now obviously here's the tough part when you win raffles in businesses like that. It's a promotional activity for them, but I would not allow them to photograph me Or use, you know how I am about this.
And I still find it comical.
Yeah, I wouldn't let them photograph me or use my name.
It's like, you walk through stores where you're showing up on video camera.
I understand that, but you'll have to go back through the file and find out. I'm not going to walk up to the front of the line and say, here I am and here's what I won. So, well, I know it's a funny thing, but I'm that way in family photos too, though. I'm usually, you'll see a hand or an ear. I don't sit in front of the camera very well, but I did the same thing. I had a handful of tickets, and I thought it was a joke too.
Right.
And those are always good to know, at least that you got some kind of luck going.
Yeah.
A door prize or two here and there couldn't hurt. But I don't know. You wanna close on talking on some food?
Sure.
I mean, that's our favorite thing. Usually we lead with food. We just tried something a little different today.
Yeah, because that probably indicates we're probably going to eat after this. So.
Yeah, it's a possibility. It's getting that time of day. We're going into the holidays, which is the hardest time to behave.
Yes.
Food-wise.
Yeah.
It's brutal. And so, typically our routine is on a Monday, we meet at a certain place.
Right.
And we have barbecue. That's just because it's convenient for everybody, and it's good barbecue.
Right.
But now we're rolling into the holidays. This is tamale season, man.
Hell yeah, tamales.
It's hard because I'm trying to eat clean. I'm not on a ketogenic diet.
So I will say that I'm sort of there because I've been really good about following being really good about eating the right stuff.
Well, I always pick the worst time of the year to start eating clean, but I started eating clean again. And so my wife's favorite thing to make around this time of year is going to be dirty rice, because her mother's recipe of dirty rice is really good. I'm going to tell you, I found a healthy version of it.
Don't tell me it's shredded cauliflower.
Yeah, it's cauliflower rice, and when I made it, it tasted exactly like it.
Okay, so I will say that
it was amazing how good it was.
The whole cauliflower, because I told you my deal about making cauliflower shrimp and grits.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
it was good, wasn't it?
Oh my God, it was fucking phenomenal.
So when you think of rice, it's basically an inert carrier anyway. It's a carbohydrate.
Okay.
Right. And it's awful starchy. Okay.
The rice.
So, rice. So rice, actually, if you really get down to it, regionally, basmati rice has a flavor to it.
I love basmati.
Yeah, it has a really good flavor to
rice
it. Right.
Is the bomb.
But for the most part, long grain white rice tastes like water. It has it's like a starch flavor, right? So if you think about that with the cauliflower rice, all you're doing, it was ground meat, green onions, Worcestershire sauce.
The almost unpronounceable word.
Yeah, it's a mouthful for sure. And beef broth.
Okay.
And dude, it was fantastic. And I used red pepper flakes and seasoning, and I used a little Tony Chachere in there. She couldn't tell the difference.
Really?
She thought I'd made dirty rice. It was that good. So that worked out. So we made that. And then chicken and dumplings. We just had a big Christmas party for some close friends the other day in the backyard.
Right.
And my chicken and dumplings is
you've told me
right
before.
up in there, man. It's a big one. I made a big pot of them. The problem is we use biscuits in them.
Oh yeah, that's what my grandmother did.
Man, and it's so good, but dude, you feel like you just swallowed a pillow. So I've just discovered it's a ketogenic version of a dumpling, and I made those, and they actually turned out really good.
So what made it ketogenic?
I use almond flour instead of regular flour. But here's the problem with them.
You can't leave them in there.
You can't leave them in there. They'll disintegrate. Yeah. So what you have to do is you make your chicken and your broth, and when you're heating it up, you add it back to it. That's the only way that works. So that worked. It tasted good. But we made I made something the other day. Potato salad is one of my favorites, and I've never heard of this version before, but have you ever roasted a radish?
No. I honestly, I can say that radish just doesn't have a very inviting flavor for me.
Well, I roasted some radishes, and I made some potato salad with it, and I was on the fence as well.
Okay.
Because it's a textural thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. But anyway, that worked out pretty good. But on the tamales, a lot of them will use, so lard's good for you, right? It's good for the arteries.
Yeah.
But if you use like a coconut or an almond flour, you're a lot better off than using masa or cornmeal.
Health-wise, yeah.
Health-wise, yes.
But as far as...
Because you bought keto tamales, didn't you?
Yeah, and I don't want to say anything bad about the local business. That
no, it's a hard way to make them. It's tough to do it.
But there's a lot of things that I'm factoring into it. Number one is I generally, so I put them in my freezer because, which is normally not a thing that I do.
Yeah, and it's probably not good for that product either.
And that was sort of what caused me to go do a little bit of research. Is now, when I heated them up the other day, I did one last month and another one last night.
Right.
And there was a clear difference between the first one I did last month and last night. Now, last night's, the color looked like what I'm used to as far as like tamales looking like. Okay.
Right.
But the fact that they were in like a freeze dried bag, which meant I had to boil them. Yeah. Which normally, like whenever I get tamales, some friends of mine thought this was funny because I did this a few years ago. I tell people I'm an Irish mutt, and I'm cooking tamales in an Asian steamer basket so while drinking a Guinness. So it's like, you don't get much more international than that.
Not at all. Yeah.
So, but that's normally how I'll heat up the tamales in the steamer basket. I've never done the whole steam them in a bag before, so I don't know how much that plays into imparting a flavor of whatever it is you're eating that's in this bag.
Right.
So, but normally, like I said, I don't freeze tamales. Normally, because that's a tradition with me. Every New Year's, I get like probably four or 5 dozen tamales from our local tamale factory here in Cypress, and then I make a huge batch of black-eyed peas, which gets better year by year as I learn to experiment and stuff like that. So, but those tamales are steamed in the basket the way that I normally do. I don't heat them up any other way. Right. No boiling, no nothing. So, and texturally, they're nobody complains about them.
Yeah, that's good.
So
I like that.
I tend to think that the ones that I bought, somebody might have done them in cornmeal. And hey, if that's what your process is, that's your process. Yeah. But I'm more traditional when it comes to tamales. It's masa. It's the everything that goes with the traditional way of making tamales, the way that I'm used to.
Did you go to German Fest this weekend?
We did. Did you? But before we went to German Fest, we took a trip down to Magnolia. Went to Lone Pint and hit Reveille down there.
Yeah, and they opened up last weekend.
So I introduced my buddy to Reveille, and he'd never been there before, and he is a fan. Because he was like, "Oh my God, this brisket is so good," and he's a purist, kind of like you are when it comes to the whole brisket thing. Is when I go to eat barbecue someplace, all I care about is the brisket. Nothing really else. I'm here for the brisket. So, and even his kids that he brought with him, his kids and his other extended stuff that we were talking about, they were like, "Oh, good Lord, this brisket is outstanding."
And I'm gonna, if there's any listeners here that get cross, just don't hate me for it. But so Corkscrew's been an institution around here for a long time.
Yeah.
And the last 3 times I've eaten there, it's been really, really salty. It's been really hard to kind of palate. The times I've been to Reveille, it's been consistently good. It's not oversalted. The flavor's really good. Like I said, I got a couple more times before I can say the two are one or the other before I actually rule it which one I think is the best.
Right.
But I've really kind of noticed, and I'm not bashing on Corkscrew. I'm really not, because I really like the guys. I like their business, and I like going there. But I will tell you that between Tejas, you have Tejas, you have Reveille, you've got Corkscrew. I'm trying to think of the
one place I haven't been is that one over. Remember we went to Deacon Baldy's. Well, Godfather's.
Yeah, I haven't. I had him when he was on Rayford Sawdust.
I've never had Godfather's barbecue at all.
Yeah,
but everybody tells me it's really good.
It's good. Yeah, I'm not. So So it's hard because you're only as good as the brisket you buy.
Right.
Okay. And you're only as good as your ability to repeat the best brisket you ever made.
Right.
And that's a tough thing to do because the atmosphere has a lot to do with it. The wood has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
If you're a good pit master, you can overcome those hurdles. Yeah, Godfather was good. I wouldn't say he's the best. It wasn't the worst either.
But he has a following. He has a following.
But it's good. You're going to like what you're going to like.
Yes.
You know, I've had people take me to what they thought was the best barbecue joint they've ever been to in their life, and it was like, ugh, this is horrible.
Right.
And I don't disappoint them by saying, oh, this is horrible. I say, oh, that's good. You know, it's good. I don't want to hurt their feelings because you know what? It's kind of a personal thing for them, and I'm not going to.
Yeah, everybody's taste buds are different.
It really is. So, so hopefully we'll find. I haven't been back since Reveille opened, but I think you said it's kind of a smaller menu, though.
When we were there this past weekend, it was not the menu that it was when we went when they.
And
were
we're talking about the sides, yeah,
because the sides.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, their barbecue, the meats that they do, they're really good, but their sides blew me the hell away.
Yeah, that smoked Gouda grits.
Yeah, the grits.
Was good.
Oh my god.
Then the Mexican street corn was really good.
Yeah, no, they had that. They had the texalote.
Yeah.
So, and the kids, generally that would not be kind of the thing that they would be really into.
Right.
So, and we bought like samples of all of this stuff. So one of the kids had the texalote, and he's like, "Oh my god, that's like really freaking good." I was like, this is not a really good comparison, but if you want to have just like regular not street corn, but we used to go to this fiesta that's over here off of 249.
Yeah.
So we used to get elote from the guys that set up.
Oh, outside the corner. Yeah, I know that guy.
So we'd get the big old freaking styrofoam cup of it, and we murder that stuff.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff.
But there's a lot of people that don't know anything about it, and I'm like, oh,
go to Costco and they have some in the freezer that's pretty good.
Really?
That you bring it home and make it yourself. It's really good.
Huh.
It's not like vendor street corn.
Yeah.
But for something that's in a bag frozen and you make on your skillet, it's actually pretty good. You got to try it.
Huh. Okay. I'll have to check that out.
Well, what do you want to do here? You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I think we've gone. This is
We've been all over the place.
This is an extended play.
Oh, really?
Of a Whiskey in the Water Cooler episode. Man, this is going to be huge.
And we even had Lucy in here for just a little bit. So, all right. Well, everybody have a good week. Christmas is what? 14, 12, 11 days away?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so we'll probably talk to you next week.
All right.